How are dietetic interns working with AACPS and the Maryland State Department of Education? Next on Food for Thought. Hi, I'm Jodi, the host for Food for Thought, and thanks for watching. Today I'm honored to host a dietetic intern, Daphene Altema-Johnson, and she's working with the Maryland State Department of Education along with Anne Arundel County Public Schools. Welcome, Daphene, to Food for Thought.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So can you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself personally and just about the role of you being a dietetic intern at MSDE?
Good, cool. Me personally, the first thing I would like to say sometimes is like I'm a mom of two because that comes first. It seems like that consumes most of my time because they're young kids. They're 7 and 3 to be exact. But I am a dietetic intern with the Maryland State Department of Education. I work with Jill Goldberg, which they do the food nutrition program, community program. And it's been really a fantastic experience. And to answer your question about my background, I started when I was a kid. I've always wanted to be a doctor. I always wanted to help people. That was the key. So I actually went to Florida State University. I received a bachelor's degree in nutrition and fitness.
So I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, with emphasis in exercise physiology, because when you want to become a doctor, you want to become an MD, you need that physiology aspect. So when I started studying for the MCAT, I started actually networking with some of the admission directors, and I actually talked to the admission director at GW, and I told her what I wanted to do, how I wanted, to help people. It always talking about feeding. We have so many kids who needs food, talking about access to food and all the things. She said, well, before you apply to medical school, have you looked into our public health programs? And I said, no, I have not. And she said, I really do this. She said, apply to the MPH program, Masters of Public Health, and do that. And if you still want to become a doctor, come back to me, we can work with that. So that's actually how I learned about public health and how I got into public health. So I went to GW to earn my MPH in public health. And when I finished, actually, I was like, okay, where do I go from there? Again, would always have that kind of nagging thing like nutrition, because I've always believed, from my background being a Haitian immigrant, right? I've always believed that food is medicine. That's how we were taught. It's very strong in our family. And so it's always there, but as you know, sometimes when you get out of school, you don't get the job that you wanted. So it's almost like I kind of accidentally fell into epidemiology. So I started working for the Maryland Department of Health. At that point in 2003, I worked with immunization. So still with children, infectious diseases, et cetera. I met a lot of people who worked with CDC outbreak. We did so many things. And so that was fun. And then again, still going back, I want to manage, I want to do stuff in nutrition, global health, work with kids. I kind of step out of that, and I started doing how do I get experience, management experience, to do things like that, to go back to that. Didn't end up in nutrition per se, but I ended up with the University of Maryland overseeing the Fogarty grant, which is basically our grant from NIH that works at building capacity in countries that need it, such as Africa. So I was traveling to Nigeria, working with the university, trying to build capacity, and meaning that I'll go to do needs assessment and to see, okay, this is what they need. If it's quality control, if it's looking at the lab to see, they need some training in that. So I'll go do my assessment and come back, and we'll usually select 1 or 2 people and bring them to the stateside and train them, and then they go back in turn to train.
So train the trainer when they go back.
Exactly.
Okay, so how many? So I didn't know that.
Yeah.
See, I'm learning as much as the viewers today, because I knew we connected right away.
Yeah, for sure.
I knew there was, truly, I think when you believe that health and the well-being and cultivating a community of wellness is so important in everything that you do, you instantly connect with somebody, and I think that's what we had.
Yeah, but you're so good at what you do.
Yeah, but there was
so many things. There was something.
There was something there. I said,
yeah,
I don't know. We need Daphene on Food for Thought, because
thank you.
It's an inspiration. I think somebody watching, should be able to see that here you were. You go to a college and you say, I'm going to become a doctor. I want to become a doctor. Well, but public health is a whole different path.
Yeah.
However, it still ties into, you know, eating healthy, being physical active. You know, how do you look at the policies, right? I mean,
Yeah, and
for
actually,
public health, it's so much policy driven.
It's policy driven. Public health is policy driven because, interestingly enough, that's actually my emphasis in MPH is actually in health policy. So it was really good because you learn that if it's the financing programs like Medicare and Medicaid, if whatever it is, that you policy direct the work of public health, right? There's always money is always needed, and we rely for grants. But with grants come policy. You have regulations and everything that you have to follow. And what I learned actually with this internship is that I've always wanted to work with kids with nutrition. You know, when you don't know, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to work with them. I'm going to help them change their behaviors, bring about a habitual change, etc. But working with Jill and Carol and some of the wonderful staff there, I've learned of so many policies, you know, with COMAR, with federal policies that are in place, you know, that directs our program, that directs to where we act. And so it's been really neat. And actually going back to doing the HIV/AIDS work, I've got to meet a lot of people. I've met a lot of people and looking to see how that culture operate, how they eat, how they work with, you know, the virus itself, and you know, and some of the stigma that associated with that. It was really an amazing experience. But while I was doing all of this, working with the state, and again, nutrition never really wasn't too far. So I was an adjunct faculty at CCBC, Catonsville Community College, Baltimore County. And I was working, I taught nutrition and exercise physiology lab.
Oh, you
there.
did?
I did there.
Okay.
I did that for a year. And then one thing that never left me, though, when I was working on my MPH at GW, I worked with an organization that sent me to schools in Washington, D.C., 7th graders, to basically talk to them about the benefits of eating healthy. And it was really alarming, and that's when I learned that those 7th graders, I said, well, what do you eat for breakfast? I always ask them that. Well, how did your breakfast look like? How did your plate look like? Well, I stop at the corner store, you know, receive some desserts like breakfast. I'm like, that didn't. So I really connected with those kids, and they loved hearing what I did. And again, I said, okay, I need to find out I can get that management piece. I went back to school again to get my MBA.
That's a lifelong learner.
That's
which is
what
great,
I am.
Right?
I love
I
it.
We
I
learn
love
every
it.
day. I
and
agree.
I learn every day, and I continue to learn. And the best learning that I've gotten is actually from those kids. You know what I mean? The textbook tells you something, right? But it's not until you really interact, you out there in the field, and that's what I was missing. That's actually how I went back, because I started getting higher up in the career, you know, being a senior epidemiology, doing outcomes research, doing that. I loved it. But the thing is, when you're at the state level, sometimes actually in that realm where I was, you get removed. You get removed. And I used to kind of bicker with some management. I said, I don't understand why we're giving them this money, and what are they doing? You know, I want to see the data.
Well, and it has to be evidence-based.
I was about to say, I want to see the data.
I
have to see the data.
And
but my boss at the time, my director, who was amazing, Dr. Goodman, and he said, Daph, I'm telling you, you have to see these people are working hard. And I was like, okay. And I started doing site visits. And that's when I said, oh my God. And I became an advocate. You know, and that was working with teeth, right? But people don't understand how nutrition is related to your oral health.
Right.
And the awesome thing about him is that for development, professional development, I'll ask him, can I go to this nutrition conference? So I started going to conferences, taking classes.
So it's always been in your heart.
It's always been in my heart.
Always.
But you always have excuse, right? So as an adult, you know, it's like I have a mortgage to pay. You know, I'm married now, I can't do that. You know, I have children now, I have to do this, I have to do that. It's always an excuse. And I got to the point after I had Dylan, I said, no, I'm not gonna be laying on the bed. It's my last day, my last hour, and that's gonna be a regret. I said, we're gonna do this.
That is so awesome.
You know.
So you just touched like 100 things that touch our life. Like everything that you say, I think is what, you know, we so strongly believe in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. So we have like the most awesome superintendent in the whole wide world, Dr. Georgia Arlotto. And
great.
you know, we with our wellness policy. So I'm going to touch a lot about policies, and I think you're going to be able to say, oh, I know what they are, and we've been part of them. So the United States Department of Agriculture is who we run our program, right, under their direction and their leadership. And in 2006, they said all local education agencies, such as AACPS, that is under the National School Breakfast and School Lunch Program, they have to have a wellness policy. So what did we do in Anne Arundel County? You know, we said, well, let's look at our students. They're the center. They're the nucleus of everything that we do. And let's go to CDC and take that school health model and mimic it. So from day one, our policies and procedures and our regulations and AACPS for wellness is all driven around that. And we use the MSDE model, looking at, you know, what is the goal? Does it have steps to achieve the goal? And how measurable are they? And it's something in public health, right? And being the epidemiologist, you know, somebody watching might be saying, like, Anne Arundel County has policies, I wonder what they say. Ours are evidence-based. So we look at there to be a result at the end that we measured and that it was a favorable result. Be it for our children, our staff. We love with what we do in the schoolhouse, and I'll just use it on the food side since I know you're the foodie too. I love when a kid gets excited about Brussels sprouts.
I know.
Or if they had asparagus with us and they thought it was the best ever and they're going to go home and talk about it, because then mom's going to get a little pressure. Like, you know.
And that's it.
Sid came home and she keeps telling me she wants me to now buy asparagus. What's this asparagus all about? So it's really, I think the connection of what we do as a school system, looking at the public health side, or, you know, you as the epidemiologist saying, what is this evidence-based research saying, or what is the outcomes that we're trying to reach, fits right in a school wheelhouse. I mean, it fits in ours perfectly.
It does, it does. And you know, I have to say, when I first met you, when I started looking at what you do, and one thing that attracted me to what you did was the fact that you go to those farms, you go to those greenhouses. I was like, oh my God, she's like my dream, you know.
And it's the best thing ever. It's the best day. I love to go.
Because you're looking at, you know, we want to do all this thing. You have the student, and you know, at school, we built this environment for them, right, to nourish them, to make sure they'll learn correctly and that they're able to absorb the information. But at home, socially, that environment is different, right? And the parent doesn't have the time to do it, or they may not have the resources. We don't know what their story is. So they're with us for about 7-8 hours a day, and it's our job to do that, to really just the wellness aspect of them, the food aspect of things, you know, to really take care of that. One thing that I think you do so well, what MSDE do so well, and what I've learned is with the USDA programs, I did not know how per se structured they were. You know, looking at the meal patterns, looking at the different components, and I honestly was flabbergasted. I said, wow, this is amazing.
And portion sizes.
And then
we always talk about portion sizes because you probably, I mean, growing up, and I remember growing up, people would say school lunch. Ugh.
That was me.
Right? There's this whole like stigma.
Yeah, it was nasty.
Right.
It was honestly nasty.
I say all the time, and I think anybody watching right now, come to Anne Arundel County. You know, go to any of the counties, but please come. If you're watching and you're here, come and see our meals because they're just awesome. I mean,
I think that's an understatement. They are beyond awesome. We just did not have that when I was growing up.
Right.
I don't remember it being so colorful. I don't remember having so many options. They have options. The kids, I went to Montgomery schools the other day. They had roasted chickpeas. I was like, oh my God.
Ooh.
We didn't have that, you know.
How good is that?
It
you know,
was
we
yummy.
did that for a tasting of the rainbow, but we've never, and they have it on their menu. So, oh boy, for whoever's watching, coming soon to a school near you.
That's great. But yeah, just those things, and we didn't have that.
Right.
And I applaud you guys. I really do, because you are feeding our children, and that's huge.
I think for somebody watching, that's so important. You know, you're kind of from the outside still, right?
Yeah,
I haven't come
to
the local education arena yet. I mean, you've definitely been in the health and well-being and public policy.
Right.
But I think that is the coolest thing about when we first met and when I first talked to you, is that I think it was a vision that you knew you wanted to see or have implemented, or you thought schools in your mind would look like that, and that's what you saw.
That's what I saw.
And I think that's what's so powerful about you and having your voice here, because somebody watching will be like, well, gosh, you know, here she is. She's really just living it, because it's relatively, you know, in the schoolhouse experience for you is new. I mean, I hope you continue to be in the schools, and I hope you stay in the state of Maryland and Anne Arundel County Public Schools one day. I think it's a perfect match.
Thank you, thank you. I hope so. I love the kids. I will say one thing that I learned about this experience. one thing Jill did really well was that I was with them for 5 weeks, and she literally had my schedule where I get to experience everything, from being in the schools, from being with the compliance side, from going to hearings, from going to agency meetings, some, seeing you at the meeting yesterday. I get to see how it all works, and I am very fortunate for that. But being a lifelong learner, which is what I feel like I'm going to be, is that I love being in the schools. Right, the kids, you don't know. I think someone told me one day, the child was arguing with them because they didn't understand. They said, well, here's a peach. They gave them a fresh peach. The child said, that's not a peach. And the peach that she's aware of, the one that's in the can, right? So look at the opportunity that you have here to educate, you know what I mean? And I really, really, really enjoy that, because I think for that child, if you're able to teach them just behavior change. What about when that child grows up and have their own kid? They're going to remember that.
Right.
And
It'll
that's
just
my
continue.
It's going to continue.
Just
generational change. You know what I mean? And that's what I hope to do. Just leave that. And that's why I went back. I want to have a more purpose-driven kind of life, to have an impact. And I always ask myself that when I get asked now, well, what are you going to do with this? What are you going to do? I said, I can't give you an answer. A, because I'm not done with the internship yet, right? But B, it's very important to me with the sacrifice, made living, the epi,
yeah, you
side
left
of
a
things.
career.
I left a career,
Right.
was doing it for 14, 15 years. I left that. Big sacrifice for the family, but because I really felt like I could be of use to people. I could have this life where I could actually have an impact. And that's what I want to do. I said, so my answer to them is, I want to be wherever where I can be used to have the most impact. And that is very important to me. If I can touch one kid's life, and I know that child is going to go home and say, Mom, I met this lady. Guess what she told me? She fixed this thing, this asparagus for me. I want us to try it. Bingo.
Yeah.
I'm successful there. Because guess what? The mom now is going to be like, okay, good, okay, so I have to go. Children nag you. Mommy,
Yeah,
you know that,
yeah.
And so they're going to nag you. And that's how when I wrote my essay for my internship, I talk about, giving them project, because at that age, children have different way of learning. But they'll learn. I know my daughter specifically, she loves when they have STEM project because she's doing it. So how about I give you an assignment where you have to actually keep this basil tree or something. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
But guess what? If your parent wants you to do well on their assignment, they're going to participate with you.
Yep. Yeah, no,
You know,
we
so it's
definitely see that. And
Yeah.
I know you and I are going to still talk about it as parents, right? We'll both take ourselves out of our current roles and look
Yeah.
at parents. But I love exactly what you said, because I think Anne Arundel County Public Schools is a special place. I really think it truly is. We have the slogan, and it's hashtag AACPS awesome. It truly is, but it's the relationships, it's the trust and the care that every department throughout our agency provides the students. I always say I have the best support and leadership here at the county, and I have the best staff you could ever ask for. When I go to a school, you could tell. They know the students by name. They encourage those fruits and vegetables.
Nice.
They keep saying, try it, just try a little bit. And that's what we try to say every day. You don't have to have a half a cup of kiwi.
No, but
have a
try
wedge
it.
of kiwi.
Yeah.
Try the kiwi, try some strawberries. Maybe you could try cantaloupe for the first time.
Exactly.
Seeing their eyes bright, they're so bright, they're so beautiful, everybody who comes through. And I love the fact that everybody who we touch, it turns into how they can learn, stay focused longer, and be super successful in school, so they can keep going to school, and they could become the doctor, they could become the dietitian.
They want. And see, that's where food is medicine. They say that. I don't think we really understand what that means. It truly is medicine. I'll give you an example. My grandmother, she ended up getting bronchitis one day, and they gave her medication. She's never had antibiotics before. The doctor was dumbfounded, and she looked at her, my grandmother looked and said, well, I eat well, I eat my food, I eat my vegetables, and she always do. So, in my heart, it may not be the case. She may just, maybe genetic, it may be immunity, it may be so many things, right? But in my mind, I said, yeah, she always have. It's always a big plate of vegetables. no matter how, yeah, you know what I mean?
Good.
So it's, I think you're right. It really does go.
And she touched you, right? So
in so many ways.
And let's talk about that. We always say it's in our wellness council, we talk about it. It's in some of our policy structure right now that all AACPS employees will be role models for the students, the staff, and the communities we serve. Being a role model, I think in my house, everything that we do, we want to have the action that our children are going to see and want to replicate, right? I get asked all the time, how do your kids eat salads every day? Why would your girls are always eating fruit. Like they'll eat fruit until there's no fruit left, and it's always cut. I think a tip for anybody watching, there's always fruit in our vegetables in our refrigerator, cut and ready to go.
Yep.
They're not going to go and peel a carrot.
No, they're not going to do that.
If you peel some carrots and you have them in there, they'll eat it.
They'll eat it.
So that role modeling piece, and I say it to people all the time, just do it. You do it, and then bring your children in with you. So eat together as a family, cook together as a family.
Huge.
Grow a garden together as a family. And it doesn't have to be a big plot in a backyard. It could be in a planter on your deck.
Exactly. And actually, that's one of our projects for this weekend. I have a garden box, and I told her, what are we planting? We're going to do a lettuce box, and we're doing it together. Yes, indeed. Because if she grows it, she'll eat it,
and she'll nurture it.
She'll nurture it, and that's the whole thing, right? You'll nurture it, kind of grow with the child. You grow it, and so that's what I try to do as a role model. And she'll tell you, especially my daughter, she'll tell my husband, "Oh, Mommy's not going to eat that. That's it's too sweet, or it's too this, it's too that. Mommy's not going to be happy for this, Daddy. Don't tell her no," because she didn't know. Because I won't eat it. I won't eat out a lot. We'll cook, and so she knows that. And actually now, sometimes she said, "Daddy, if I'm not around, I think we need to eat at home because Mommy wouldn't like that." Oh yes, indeed.
And does she call him out? She probably
does.
When
She
you're
calls
there,
him out.
Says,
She
hey,
sure
Mom.
does, and she'll call me. She said, "Mommy," and you know what? She'll tell me, "Mommy, I'm not feeling good." And I said, "Why don't you feel good?" She said, "I didn't eat too good today." And I didn't have this, I didn't have that.
Right.
And so she knows, because she knows how I am. So based on what I eat, I'll tell her, this didn't agree. No, Mommy needs to, redirect. And she knows. And so now she knows if she doesn't feel a certain way, she said, "Mommy, and I need more whole grain." I introduced the whole grain aspect, the benefits of it to your body. She said, "Mommy, I need this type of bread. I don't want to do that."
Good.
So I try to do with children, I try to be the example so they can try it. And now what's interesting is what is going on in our household is like she's an example to her little brother. Because if she's eating the green beans and she ate it all, he's like, "Well, Gabriella, I want to do it too. I can do it better."
Yeah, I'll do it faster.
Exactly, I'll do it faster.
Right.
I won, you didn't,
Yeah.
And so it's that whole, kind of passing it on, and so, you have
simple,
to be.
right?
It's simple.
And I always say, like, if somebody's, because we're always getting asked, I think, as dietitians, like, how do you do it? It's simple.
It really is.
And you touched it earlier, and you said, with USDA, we have components, right? Or that was something that was like a aha moment for you. Because when you got to a school, you were like, everything is portion size. Everything is a whole grain. We do a lot of legumes. We do protein, but a 2-ounce portion of protein.
Yes.
And the fruits and the vegetables. We do the same thing at home. So I think often people say, in school they're not doing that. It's always.
And
all of those components are there. All those food groups are there for students to choose.
And actually, it motivated me. So where I make sure now, it became more of a routine for practice when I started, and that's the takeaway from this rotation for me, is that when I'm fixing their lunch, I said, okay, I told my husband, I said, we need a vegetable. She has a fruit. She has this. So, you want to mimic that for them because, when you know better, you do better. And so, and that's the whole thing. And going back to the components, and one thing I know that you do and the other schools do is the education piece. When I was at the schools, I saw they had pictures, fun pictures. I did towards the end of the cash register. They had, did you get your fruit? And so they'll grab it. Oh, they go grab it. And so they just look. They said, oh, I'm missing this. I'm missing that. And that is so good. That is, that is so important.
And we, for Anne Arundel County, we keep. It's a My Plate, so USDA has My Plate, right? And you get to see the sections of the plate and what you should fill. So half of it should be fruits and vegetables. We constantly nudge and encourage that in our county. But with the My Plate sign, we say if it's, teriyaki chicken, and we have our brown rice. So everything is under its appropriate category. So the student can say, well, I'd like a protein, which is the teriyaki chicken. They're going to choose brown rice, which is our whole grain rice. They'll do a fruit or a vegetable, and there's always many of those here.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's always the complement of milk. I'm always asked, well, why milk? Well, because it's part of the USDA meal pattern, but it's an awesome beverage to drink.
It really is.
Loaded
It really
with
is, especially
nutrients.
for children, you know, protein and all of that stuff that they need to grow. Right, they need it to grow. But I am impressed with what y'all do. I really am. The meal component, it's amazing. You just said teriyaki chicken. Do you know we didn't have that? It was pizza.
Well,
or some
probably a lot.
Sandwich that was, you know, you said teriyaki chicken, and that's one thing that I'm noticing. They have Asian bowls, like, you know, those rice bowls.
We do those.
I'm like, really?
We just added salmon salad. So we do fresh salmon.
Wow.
So we do a salmon filet. It was going to go on a kale salad because we were all about putting it on kale salad, but our salad mix is a romaine and spinach blend. So now
Very
we do it
nice.
on that. We offer it on Fridays, and kids love it. So do the adults. We all love it.
I mean, salmon. Who doesn't love salmon?
Salmon
you
at
get your
school
omegas,
lunch.
You do good. You're good to go. Yeah.
So it's really,
Wow.
I think it's a win-win.
It's a win-win for everyone.
For all of the students, and you know, when I reflect back, just even hearing you, and now you've been, you know, throughout the whole state, right? You've worked for the state. You've been now a dietetic intern going around for all the state, and like I said, hopefully you're going to stay in the state because you will be one phenomenal registered dietitian
thank you
wherever
kindly.
you go.
I appreciate that.
But I think it's important for anybody watching, right? Be a role model first and foremost, and really, you know, encourage, include, involve your children in everything that you do.
You have to.
And
It's
just have
important.
them blossom and want to do all those right things and be fueled, ready to learn, ready to play, ready to work.
Ready to work. That's it. That's it. And you know, one thing I'll tell you is that over the weekend, what I do now is we went to the grocery store and I said, okay, you pick your vegetable for the week. Because I was meal planning. I was grocery shopping for, you know, to prep for the week. I said, you pick your vegetables. And she picked her green beans, and my son called it trees, which are broccoli, and she picked her Brussels sprouts.
Wow.
And so if you pick it, I looked at her, I said, if you pick this, you know you have to eat it, right? And so, yeah, that was
How did you do the Brussels sprouts?
The Brussels sprout, I have, because of the taste of it sometimes, my son won't eat it. So what I do, when I was in Mexico, I got this agave, you know. So what I do is I just trim them, cut them up in half, olive oil, sea salt, and I actually put a little bit of agave in it to give it that sweetness to offset that, you know, bitter taste. And they're just
That sounds phenomenal. I'm coming to your house.
You're welcome to come. I love to cook, so we'll fix something to you. We will get Caribbean / you know, whatever.
There you go.
You'll enjoy it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Daphne, for coming.
Thank you
our
for
show is
having
over.
me.
That was so
That
much
was so
information.
fast.
I
Yeah.
loved it.
Thank you.
As you can see, dietetic interns are so important, especially Daphne. I just can't wait to hear where she's next and the difference she's going to make for the students, the staff, and the communities that she serves. She's truly a phenomenal person. If you have any questions about school meals, about any of the great items we talked about today, just give me a call at 410-222-5900. And keep watching Food for Thought and keep eating school lunch at Anne Arundel County Public Schools.
Hey, great news! Cigarette smoking among teens
is way down.
Way down.
That's awesome, but we have way more work to do.
Some kids our age
think vapes are safer than cigarettes.
but they're not.
And others are still smoking flavored tobacco.
like hookah and cigarillos.
Big tobacco companies give them flavors
Like chocolate and strawberry.
So we won't think that it's bad for us, but they're just as bad.
The vapor from e-cigarettes
It's not a harmless water vapor.
The vapor can still contain nicotine,
heavy metals.
And dangerous toxins. Smoking hookah for 45 minutes.
has just as much tar and nicotine.
as smoking a whole pack of cigarettes.
And vapes are so new that we don't even know what the long-term health risks are yet.
Let's show them that we're not an easy sale.
We're not about to get owned.
That we're not about to get owned for profit.
Join the movement.
Join the movement.
Join the movement.
Let's end smoking and vaping today.